Greetings, writers. It's Mr. Hebda from the Lackawanna College Writing Center, here with part 3 in our series on apostrophes. Apostrophes and contractions. So how do apostrophes show contraction? And what are apostrophes and what's contraction anyway? So, apostrophes, as a quick recap, are special punctuation marks that they look like a kind of little notch mark, and they come in between letters. One of the roles that an apostrophe plays in our writing is to show contraction. And if we break down that word, we can get a sense of what contraction does. When something contracts, it gets smaller or shorter. And so what contraction does is it merges two words into one. And we do this all the time in our everyday speech. It's really helpful and very convenient. And when we translate these shortened words onto the page, we use apostrophes to show where any missing letters are lost in that merger of those two different words. Let me show you a couple examples, and you'll see just how common these sorts of things are, these contractions. Art is short for are not. So here the O is replaced by the apostrophe. I'll is short for I will, and here WI is replaced by the apostrophe. We're is short for we are. The A is replaced by the apostrophe. And our last example is a real heavy lifter. They'd is short for they would. And here the apostrophe stands for 4 letters. So this list isn't exhaustive, but it gives you a sense of the range and diversity of contractions. There's lots of different contractions out there. And that apostrophe could stand for anywhere from 1 to several different letters. So keep that in mind as you go forth with your writing. Let's talk about a common problem that we are confused about. What's the difference between its and its? One its has an apostrophe and one doesn't. So as you probably noticed with some of our contraction examples, contractions often involve pronouns. And pronouns are words that stand for nouns. So I have a list here, a chart, and feel free to pause the video to study this chart in detail because I'm only going to go over the first example with its and its. As you notice under the contraction column, we have pronouns that are parts of phrases. So here, its is actually with the apostrophe, I should say, its with the apostrophe is standing for 2 words, it and is. So the apostrophe stands for the I. Notice that we don't have an apostrophe in our its under the possession column. So possessive pronouns never use apostrophes. However, the contraction form always uses the apostrophe. So keep that in mind when you're using pronouns and contractions and trying to differentiate them from possessive pronouns. All right, let's spend some time talking about contractions and essays, because as writers, you'll have to figure out what to do with contractions in your writing. What place do they have, or what role do they have in our essays? So, as I mentioned before, contractions make talking very easy by merging together words and making them flow a little more smoothly. So when we use contractions in our writing, it produces an informal conversational tone. It feels casual. And unfortunately, that's not appropriate for college level writing. I mean, it's completely fine for everyday speech, but in college level writing, it's not really appropriate. So what we have to do in our essays is we need to remove contractions to produce that formal tone. And I like to use the metaphor of a job interview with essays. You know, writing an essay is like going to a job interview, right? You don't want to go to the job interview in your pajamas, right? You want to make sure you dress to succeed. And that's what you're doing with your writing here. You want to dress up your writing. Like I have this little tie here. And one way to make your writing more dressed up or more formal is to remove those contractions. So let me show you an example of how to do that. How to remove contractions. It's pretty simple. We write out the 2 words that were once merged into one. So we remove the apostrophe and we restore any missing letters. Here's an example sentence. The argument can't stand without evidence. Not a bad sentence for an essay, but that can't right in the middle of it, it just knocks down that tone a little bit and makes it less formal. We don't want that can't. So what do we do here? to replace can't. Pretty simple. We replace the apostrophe with the two letters it stands for, N-O, cannot. So here we have the argument cannot stand without evidence. And that's better. That's what we're looking for our essays. Shoot for that second kind of sentence. All right, great work today, writers. Be sure to check out the Lackawanna College Writing Center YouTube channel for more helpful videos. And as always, feel free to make an appointment at the Writing Center for any writing-related questions. We're always here to see you succeed. Keep up the great writing, everyone. Mr. Hebda out.